Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy will travel to Washington for talks with Donald Trump. Zelenskyy announced his visit to the US following a phone call with the American president. Donald Trump reached out to Zelenskyy while returning from Alaska, where he had met with Vladimir Putin. The US president also held discussions with European leaders and NATO Secretary General. Trump has not ruled out a possible trilateral meeting with Putin and Zelenskyy, depending on how Monday's talks with the Ukrainian leaders unfold.
It was determined by all that the best way to end the horrific war between Russia and Ukraine is to go directly to a peace agreement, which would end the war, and not a mere ceasefire agreement, which oftentimes do not hold up. President Zelenskyy will be coming to D.C., the Oval Office, on Monday afternoon. If all works out, we will then schedule a meeting with President Putin. Potentially, millions of people's lives will be saved.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has welcomed the idea of three-way meeting. He stressed that any decisions concerning Ukraine must be made with Ukraine at the table. At the same time, European leaders are reacting to the Trump-Putin summit. In a joint statement, major European powers voiced support for a meeting that would bring together Trump, Putin, and Zelenskyy, and said they are ready to help prepare it.
We are clear that Ukraine must have ironclad security guarantees to effectively defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity. We welcome President Trump's statement that the U.S. is prepared to give security guarantees. The coalition of the willing is ready to play an active role. No limitations should be placed on Ukraine's armed forces or on its cooperation with third countries. Russia cannot have a veto against Ukraine's pathway to EU and NATO. It will be up to Ukraine to make decisions on its territory. International borders must not be changed by force.
The meeting of so-called coalition of willing is expected within days. Donald Trump received Vladimir Putin with open arms, yet the two leaders could not secure a ceasefire. The summit was held under the title Pursuing Peace. Two leaders met on the red carpet at the Elmendorf-Richardson Air Force Base in Alaska. Trump clapped for Putin, then drove him to the talks in his car. Just hours before the meeting, the talks changed from one-on-one to three-on-three. The US team was led by Donald Trump with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. On Russia's side, Putin came with his advisor Yuri Ushakov and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. The talks lasted over 3 hours, but no agreement was reached. Trump had planned a working lunch with Putin and the Russian team, but it was cancelled after the meeting and press conference. Later, in an exclusive interview for Fox News, Trump rated the meeting 10 out of 10.
I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelenskyy and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them.
At the press conference, Vladimir Putin repeated his familiar line that Russia and Ukraine are brotherly nations, saying Russia is ready for peace, but only on its own terms. He hopes Kyiv and other European capitals will take it constructively and not interfere.
I agree with President Trump. He spoke about this today, that of course Ukraine's security must also be ensured. Of course, we are ready to work on this. I would like to hope that the understanding we have reached will allow us to get closer to that goal and open the way to peace in Ukraine.
International media have already called the meeting a symbol of Putin stepping out of political isolation. At the press conference, he said that next time his meeting with Trump should be in Moscow. Trump, meanwhile, hopes to act as a mediator between Putin and Zelenskyy. In a Fox News interview after the talks, he suggested that Zelenskyy should agree to a deal with Putin, though he admitted he's not sure whether Zelenskyy will go alone.
What would your advice, based on today, when you talk to Vladimir Zelenskyy, what's your advice to...
Make a deal.
Make the deal.
Gotta make a deal, yeah.
After his meeting with Putin, Trump said he's not planning any new sanctions on Russia for now. He added he might think about it, but not for at least 2 weeks. Putin dodged journalists' questions during the Alaska summit. After arrival, the US and Russian leaders shook hands and walked to a small podium for a joint photo in front of the press. At that moment, journalists asked several questions, but both the US and Russian leaders ignored them. Reporters pressed on about a possible ceasefire and the killing of civilians. Right after the question on civilians, Putin looked annoyed and acted as he hadn't heard it.
President Putin, will you agree to a ceasefire?
Mr. President, what's your message to Vladimir Putin?
Mr. Putin, did you underestimate Ukraine? President Putin, will you stop killing civilians?
Journalists continued to be ignored. In a meeting room, American reporters asked whether Putin would agree to a ceasefire or halt attacks on Ukrainian civilians. He responded so quietly that his words could not be understood. The reporters were then asked to leave the room.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
Mr. Putin, will you agree to a ceasefire? Mr. Putin, will you commit to not killing any more civilians?
Thank you, press. Let's go. Come on, guys. Thank you, press.
Mr. President.
Thank you, press.
Journalists were unable to get any answers during the joint statement by Putin and Trump after the talks, as they were not allowed to ask any questions. Later, Putin press secretary Dmitry Peskov said both leaders had made full statements, so it was decided that no questions would be taken at the press conference. The wife of the US President Melania Trump reportedly wrote a personal letter to Russian leader Vladimir Putin, urging action on Ukrainian children taken by Russian occupation forces. Reuters report this, citing unnamed White House officials. Officials did not reveal the full contents of the letter, only saying that it addressed the kidnapping of children in Ukraine as a result of the Russian invasion. According to Ukraine's presidential advisor on children's rights, Daria Herasimchuk, since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion, Moscow has forcibly relocated at least 20,000 Ukrainian children to occupied Crimea and Russia. While Putin spoke about peace, Russia launched new attacks on Ukraine using drones and ballistic missiles. Overnight, on the 16th of August, as Putin and Trump held talks in Alaska, Russia hit Ukraine with a ballistic missile and sent 85 drones over the country. The Ukrainian Air Force managed to shoot down 61 enemy drones, including Shahed drones and various types of decoys over the north and east of the country. However, some drones hit areas near the Sumy, Donetsk, Chernihiv and Dnipropetrovsk regions. According to a local report, an enemy missile struck a 5-story building in Dobropilla in Donetsk region, but it didn't explode. Just hours before the Trump-Putin meeting in Alaska, Russia struck Dnipro and Sumy. In Dnipro, a ballistic missile threat turned into an explosion that killed one man, injured another, damaged several vehicles, and sparked a fire. In Sumy, drones hit the central market, damaging around 20 stalls, but no casualties were reported. That's all for now. Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. For the latest updates, follow our new X account, War and Politics 24. The link is in the video description.